1492, a date that will change the course of human history forever. From this point in history, events will jostle and transform, for better or for worse, the lives of human beings in the Americas, Europe, and Africa. This mountainous land in the middle of the Caribbean, where the Tainos lived, was no exception. Who were the first inhabitants of this land? In this first episode of our series on the history of Haiti, we will see where they came from. How did they live? We will see how it all started and also how and who will change everything in 1492. The earliest evidence of human presence in the Americas dates back to at least 15,000 years ago during the last ice age. The theory is that people crossed a land bridge between Siberia and Alaska, known as Beringia, which was exposed due to lower sea levels. This land bridge connected Asia and North America, allowing early humans to migrate from Asia to the Americas. Recent archaeological discoveries, such as the ancient footprints found on Canada's Pacific coast in 2018, suggest that humans may have arrived in the Americas earlier than previously thought, possibly as much as 15,000 years ago or even earlier. However, further research and analysis are needed to confirm these findings and to better understand the complex and dynamic history of human migration and settlement in the Americas. The first people to migrate to the Americas were likely nomadic hunter-gatherers who followed herds of large mammals, such as mammoths and bison, as they moved across the continent. These early people had simple stone tools and relied on hunting and gathering for their subsistence. The island of Hispaniola, which is now divided between Haiti and the Dominican Republic, was first populated by indigenous peoples known as the Tainos. The exact timing of the Taino arrival on the island is uncertain, but it is believed to have occurred around 5,000 years ago, based on archaeological evidence. Linguistic evidence suggests that the Taino people may have originated from the Arawak-speaking peoples of the Orinoco River region in South America. Some scholars believe that the Taino language evolved from an earlier Arawak language that was spoken in the region. Archaeological evidence also supports the theory that the Taino people migrated from South America to the Caribbean islands. Excavations of archaeological sites on the islands have revealed similarities in pottery styles, agricultural practices, and other cultural elements between the Taino and Arawak peoples of South America. It is believed that the Taino gradually settled on the islands of Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, and other nearby islands. Some scholars suggest that the Taino people may have arrived on the islands by canoe or raft, while others believe that they may have traveled on foot across land bridges that once connected the islands to South America. The Taino were a complex and sophisticated civilization with a rich culture and social organization. Their society was organized into chiefdoms, each with its own leader who oversaw the political, economic, and social affairs of their community. The chiefdoms were organized hierarchically, with each chiefdom having a supreme leader who oversaw a group of subordinate chiefs. One of the key features of Taino society was their complex agricultural system. The Taino on Hispaniola and other Caribbean islands cultivated a variety of crops, including maize, cassava, beans, and sweet potatoes. They also practiced fishing, hunting, and gathering, which were important sources of food and resources. The Taino were also skilled artisans and craftsmen, producing a wide variety of goods including pottery, textiles, carvings, and jewelry. They were skilled in weaving and spinning, and also made intricate wooden carvings and stone sculptures. Religion played a significant role in Taino society, with the Taino practicing a complex and nuanced belief system that included various deities and spirits. The Taino believed in a creator god, as well as a variety of other gods and goddesses associated with specific aspects of the natural world, such as the sun, moon, and sea. They also believed in the existence of spirits, including ancestral spirits, and had a complex system of rituals and ceremonies associated with their religious practices. Music and dance were also important parts of Taino culture, with the Taino using a variety of instruments including flutes, drums, and maracas. They also had a rich tradition of dance, with many dances associated with religious ceremonies or other important events. But as the Taino thrive in their own world, their lives were about to be changed forever by a man born over 7,000 kilometers away from them. His name was Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus was an Italian explorer born in Genoa, Italy, in 1451. He was the son of a wool weaver and had little formal education, but he was interested in geography and navigation from a young age. Columbus became a sailor at the age of 14, working on various ships and eventually becoming a captain. In 1477, Columbus moved to Portugal, where he began to develop his idea of finding a new route to Asia by sailing west across the Atlantic Ocean. He believed that by doing so, he could establish a lucrative trade route for the Spanish crown, which would help finance a Christian crusade to retake the Holy Land from Muslim control. In 1484, Columbus presented his plan to King John II of Portugal, but the king rejected it. Columbus then turned to Spain, where he wanted to gain the support of King Ferdinand II and Queen Isabella I of Castile. On May 1, 1486, permission having been granted, Columbus presented his plans to Queen Isabella, who, in turn, referred it to a committee. The learned men of Spain, like their counterparts in Portugal, replied that Columbus had grossly underestimated the distance to Asia. Despite this rejection, the sovereigns decide to take Columbus under their protection so that he does not sell his idea elsewhere, and also they can keep their options open. But after several years of lobbying, Columbus finally in 1492 received the approval of the monarchs to fund his voyage. After he received the approval of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella to undertake his voyage, he began preparations for the expedition. Columbus spent several months gathering supplies and recruiting crew members for the voyage. The recruitment of the crew nonetheless poses some problems. Few people are willing to volunteer for this voyage. The Franciscan friar Antonio de Marchena plays a notable role, notably by allowing Columbus to meet and convince the Pinzon brothers, whose local influence is great. However, 4 prisoners, including one sentenced to death for murder, are pardoned and released from prison to complete the crew. Columbus' brother, Bartolomeo, who served as the captain of the ship Pinta, was also part of the crew. Another challenge Columbus faced was finding enough funding for the expedition. Although the Spanish monarchs agreed to fund the voyage, they provided only a portion of the necessary funds. Columbus had to raise the rest of the money by borrowing from wealthy friends and business associates. Finally, on the evening of August 3, 1492, Columbus departed from Palos de la Frontera with 3 ships. The largest was a carrack, the Santa Maria, owned and captained by Juan de la Cosa, and under Columbus's direct command. The other 2 were smaller caravels, the Pinta and the Nina, piloted by the Pinzon brothers. About 90 men made up this crew. Columbus first sailed to the Canary Islands. There he restocked provisions and made repairs, then departed from San Sebastián de la Gomera on September 6th for what turned out to be a 5-week voyage across the ocean. The voyage was difficult, with the crew facing many challenges including storms. One of the most severe storms occurred on the night of September 13, 1492, when the fleet was still in the Atlantic Ocean. The storm was so intense that the ships were separated, with the Pinta and the Nina drifting apart from the larger Santa Maria. The crew was terrified, and Columbus himself feared that they would all perish in the storm. However, the ships managed to survive, and they eventually regrouped after the storm passed. As they sailed westward, the crew faced also a constant struggle to maintain their supplies of food and water. They were forced to ration their provisions and rely on rainwater for drinking and cooking. The journey was physically and mentally grueling, and many of the crew members fell ill or died from sickness. According to Columbus's journal, 5 crew members died during the voyage, but other sources suggest that the number may have been higher. Also, some crew members doubted Columbus' abilities as a navigator and disagreed with his decisions about how to proceed on the voyage. This led to mutinous behavior on several occasions, with some crew members threatening to overthrow Columbus and turn back to Spain. On October 7th, the crew spotted immense flocks of birds. On October 11th, Columbus changed the fleet's course to the west and sailed through the night, believing land was soon to be found. At around 2 o'clock the following morning, a lookout on the Pinta, Rodrigo de Triana, spotted land. The captain of the Pinta, Martín Alonso Pinzón, verified the sight of land and alerted Columbus. Columbus later maintained that he had already seen a light on the land a few hours earlier, thereby claiming for himself the lifetime pension promised by Ferdinand and Isabella to the first person to sight land. In the morning, Columbus and the Pinzón brothers took a boat and landed on a small island, Guanahani, known to the local Taino people. The navigator had his taking possession registered in the name of the Queen of Castile by the notary who accompanied them. He named it one of the names of Christ, San Salvador, and proclaimed himself as the Viceroy and Governor-General. When Columbus and his crew arrived on Guanahani, they were greeted by a group of Taino people who came to the beach to welcome them. The Taino were curious about the newcomers, and they brought gifts of food and water to offer to the sailors. Columbus was struck by the beauty and simplicity of the Taino way of life. He described them as peaceful and generous, and he wrote in his journal that they were the best people in the world and above all the gentlest. Columbus was impressed by the Tainos' agriculture, their skill in making pottery, and their simple but elegant houses. Despite the initial friendliness between the two groups, there were also significant cultural differences and misunderstandings. The Taino had no concept of land ownership, and they did not understand Columbus's claims of taking possession of their island in the name of the Spanish monarchs. Columbus also had trouble communicating with the Taino, as he did not speak their language and had to rely on interpreters. Believing that he had reached the coasts of India, Columbus calls these natives Indians. Columbus was intrigued by the gold jewelry with which these Indians adorned themselves. He reports that, during this first contact, communicating by gestures, by dint of repetitions and despite some misunderstandings, the Tainos told them that gold was found in large quantities on a large island located to the southeast, inhabited by populations of cannibals that are hostile to them. On October 28th, Columbus landed on the large island indicated by the Tainos, in a bay now called Bay of Bariay. He gave the island, now Cuba, the name of Juana, in honor of the infant Don Juan, the son of the Catholic monarchs. On November 12th, the ship set sail again. On November 23rd, Columbus lost sight of the Pinta and accused Martín Alonso Pinzón of desertion. In reality, Pinzón had gone alone to explore the supposedly coveted land of Japan. Columbus returned to Cuba, where he heard about an island to the east called Bohio by the natives. He set sail again on December 4th, and on December 6th, he set foot on the island and baptized it with the name of Hispaniola, La Española, the Spaniard, because it reminded him of the campaigns of Castile. He has reached the island that its inhabitants called Haiti or Quisqueya. These were the two main names used by the Taino people for their homeland. Haiti meant land of high mountains, while Quisqueya meant mother of all lands.